Welcome back. It is 8:30 and time for Transparency Tracker.
Yeah, this week a group digging into government spending is focusing on the air quality in Canada from the wildfires and millions of dollars in aid for wild land conservation.
Adam Andrzejewski, the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks, joins us live now with a breakdown. Adam, what did you find?
Well, Katie, I think most people will be surprised that U.S. taxpayer foreign aid into our wealthy neighbor to the north, Canada, over the course of the past 5 years amounted to $180 million. And it was literally for the birds, for migratory birds. And I think after this week, the only thing worse than being a resident in New York City with the bad air quality is being a migratory bird in Canada. Much of the area that we conserve to help the migratory birds in Canada with our U.S. foreign aid is actually in the same footprint of the 440 fires that are now raging through Canada. So it's an open question as to whether our investment into the Canadian land and migratory birds has gone up in smoke.
Well, there is a Canadian U.S. funded project called the North American Waterfowl Plan and associated joint ventures in Canada. What is it, and how much U.S. taxpayers' money actually funds it?
So starting in 1989, we put this plan in place to help migratory birds, to help in North America, so on the Canadian side and the American side, a plan of conservation. But the funding is all one way. It's one-way funding love from the American taxpayer into Canada. Canadian taxpayers aren't putting their taxpayer dollars into the projects on the American side. So we've put in, through the Department of the Interior, since just over the course of the past 5 years, $177 million, and $144 million of that has gone through an organization called Ducks Unlimited. Again, into the Canadian side, but not the American side.
So the U.S. and Canada have an air quality agreement. What's the purpose of that, and how does it relate to these fires?
Well, the purpose of the air quality agreement is to stop acid rain, a great public purpose to stop, that very poor environmental hazard. It's also to stop the trans-border pollution. Here's what our auditors at OpenTheBooks.com found. We found that on the Canadian side, they're not tracking the air pollution from wildfires. On the U.S. side, we track it. And Katie, unless you measure something, you can't manage it. So we're calling on the Canadians to honor their side of that air quality agreement by starting to track the pollution from these wildfires. Wildfires put two dangerous chemicals in the air, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. Those are the same two chemicals that cars and power plants put in the air. So Canada should start tracking this.
In less than 30 seconds, tell us what other federal policies might be relevant here.
So I think Canada needs to crack down on the campers. A lot of these fires in Canada were started by human error. And the second thing Canada needs to do is to do a much better job with their land management. Some of these fires during the spring, during the wet season, were also started by lightning. So Canada needs to do both of those things, better land management and to crack down on the human error and the camper management.